Let's go. Line number one. Say good morning to the Liberal member of the House of Assembly for St. John's South, Tom Osborne. Tom, you're on the air.
Hi, Paddy. How are you?
I'm not too bad this morning. How are you, sir?
Good, thanks. I'm also a member of the Public Accounts Committee.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to have a chat on that. I'm disappointed that the Public Accounts Committee meeting regarding Humber Valley paving did not go ahead. It's disappointing on a number of fronts. There are several unanswered questions still regarding Humber Valley paving. Government initially, when this issue came to light, said that there was nothing untoward happened. Everything was done above board. Refused to do an inquiry into the issue, but eventually opted instead to call in the Auditor General. The Auditor General wasn't satisfied with how everything was carried out, how government themselves conducted the process, and as a result, the Minister of Transportation and Works was relieved of his duties and removed from Cabinet. There are still unanswered questions. Having a Public Accounts Committee...
Which ones, Tom? Let's get into some of this. What questions, and I know what I think are unanswered questions, what do you think are unanswered questions, and what can the Public Accounts Committee actually get for answers that the AG was unable to or we were unable to at the time?
Well, as members of the House of Assembly, we can question government in the House. They don't always give an answer, but when there's a Public Accounts Committee, we can call government officials in and have access to government officials. They are under oath and they answer questions posed by the committee. So there's an opportunity to ask officials questions. We've asked several questions in the House that government didn't answer, including back when the story broke, when government said there was absolutely nothing wrong with the way this issue was carried out. At the end of the day, we found out through the Auditor General there was. The Auditor General himself has said that, there were questions around the timeline of the leadership. There were questions around the, two different ministers making calls to a deputy minister on the same day within an hour of each other.
But now the Auditor General also said that there was nothing inherently wrong with the decision being made, and it was inside the authority and the auspices of ministers in control. And I'm with you that there's so many questions surrounding the timing and the rush to making a decision on the day of, and the fact that people said, well, I didn't talk to this person, then we found out they did. So I know I didn't know who Gene Coleman is, when in fact that's ridiculous. So there's two different things here. The AG said we didn't step outside the boundaries of a decision making, but he questioned the timing and the people involved, and the fact that the Premier was not brought into the loop. That's how I remember it. Is that fair?
That is fair enough, and those questions certainly have to be answered. Another concern about this meeting being cancelled, the Premier and government say that they're committed to House reform, including committees, yet they boycott a Public Accounts Committee. And, the reality is the fallout from not attending this meeting is less than the fallout of holding the meeting and raising this issue in the public again, and having bureaucrats under oath and having the opportunity for members of the committee to ask questions of bureaucrats. We all agreed to the time and the date at a previous Public Accounts Committee meeting a couple of months ago. We all checked our schedules and at that meeting, and we confirmed the date. And the only members that were unable to attend this particular Public Accounts Committee meeting were the PC members.
Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I said that the only members that now refuse to attend this particular meeting are the PC members.
Yeah, I brought it up off the top of the show. I think that they just do themselves more harm than good here. Even if they were to present in front of the Public Accounts Committee as sitting committee members, the fact that none of them were in the room, none of them sitting in the cabinet post, none of them knowing the actual intimate details of who, what, where, when, and why, there was an opportunity to not waltz through, but certainly be hard to be held accountable for party actions of which they weren't involved with directly, but yet they chose this, I think, quite flawed strategic move of not engaging with the Public Accounts Committee debate or conversation and or documented minutes, which is just patently stupid, in my personal opinion.
Well, this particular meeting, Paddy, doesn't, it's not a debate between members of the House. It's not where Liberal members or, the third-party member are able to question members of government. It's an opportunity for members of the House of Assembly who sit on the Public Accounts Committee to directly ask bureaucrats who are under oath at that Public Accounts hearing questions. So that is the reason I believe the PC members made themselves unavailable, because they were available and they scheduled it. It was put in their schedules a couple of months ago.
Yeah, and, this is party order stuff. We can't pretend that all of a sudden garden parties, which had been scheduled as long as their commitment to participate in the committee meeting, has somehow come out of the blue, and now they have commitments inside their own districts. None of it's really passing the smell test. It was an opportunity for them to go ahead and engage in an agenda that was put forward out of an important matter of which we still are asking questions and hoping for answers. And so I can't for the life of me understand the strategy here. I guess it's the news cycle continuum and the rapid fire in which people pay attention to issues that I guess they're hoping that we'll discuss it today, it'll be gone by Monday, but of course it'll be part of the election campaign, it'll be part of the questions asked as it relates to openness and transparency. It'll be one of the issues brought forward, I'm sure, by Mr. Ball when he continues to reiterate that he will call an inquiry into the matter. So they've just brought it back to the front burner when in fact they could have just left it. They could have done a variety of things politically, but now we're all going to talk about it because of their actions and nothing else.
Well, I think they were hoping that it would fly under the wire, fly under the radar and that the fallout from not attending this meeting would be less than the fallout from attending it and having bureaucrats under oath. The other aspect of this is, government will be judged on their actions, not on their promises, their recent promises. And they've promised to reform the House and to make the House more effective, but they refuse to show up to a Public Accounts Committee meeting, which is a slap in the face to the commitment to make the House more responsible and more effective.
I don't think anyone's going to dispute that, because it's one of the issues that has been long dogging the House of Assembly, and whether it be this particular brand of government under the PCs or governments in the past, we haven't had appropriate committee structure in place which represents all parties and puts forward some legitimate information for the voters, the electorate, and legitimate recommendations in front of the House of Assembly for here's what we've discussed and here's what we think are pragmatic ways forward. And we haven't done that. And unless we can do that now, and I think, and I'll say this again, that I think when we started our so-called reform with adjusting and reducing the number of seats, I think that was foolhardy, and I think both parties are to blame here, albeit, of course, if it's brought forward by the PCs, they'll wear it more than the Liberals. But I think it was a terrible place to start when so much more could have been done to really effectively reform democracy and reform the legislature, that we chose a seat reduction which was simply a terrible pander to save a couple of $1 million. But we'll see what becomes of it after the election, if and when someone has legitimate points of view and legitimate suggestions about how to make things better, because currently it's quite visibly broken, and I guess it remains to be seen who can do anything about that.
Well, Dwight Ball has been very clear on the record that, House committees are needed, House reform is needed, a more effective House of Assembly is needed. I think that that's a commitment Dwight has made many months ago, and we fully intend to follow through and carry out those commitments. I
appreciate your time this morning, Tom, as usual. Have a nice weekend, sir. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much, Paddy.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Tom Osborne is the Liberal member of the House of Assembly in St. John's South, and we're talking Humber Valley paving, unbelievably put back on the radar by the exact people who don't want it on said radar.